Hello and good morning. Welcome to Be Encouraged. It is Tuesday. That means DP is with me today. The man is all the way from the beef and veal capital of the world. Yes, indeed. Nebraska is where he resides. How are you, my good friend Derek Pearson?
I'm good. I'm good. And they will chase you out of the state if you don't say it's the home of the best corn in the world.
Okay. Well, I just, right before we came on, I looked at what the biggest export was
Hmm?
out of Nebraska, and it's beef and veal. So, all
It's
right.
this is why they chose the name Cornhuskers, which is
Yes, no, I understand. I
which,
I used to have a professor at Nova who was my criminal justice professor, and he is from Nebraska. He worked actually with the. He went out to L.A. during the Watts riots. He was out there as an LAPD officer, and when he left LAPD, he came back here, worked with the organized crime unit for the Nebraska State Police.
Mhm.
I was like, "What? Organized crime in Nebraska?" He said, I said, "What is that? Farmers all ganging up on another farmer?" He goes, "Oh no, these guys." And I was like, "What?"
Yes, yes,
Oh yeah,
yes,
Vinny
yes.
Benchezzo or something like that was one of the guys he got.
It was a landing place for a lot of folks in witness protection. They thought middle of the country,
Right?
not much surrounding. Yeah,
Yeah,
I,
I know.
yeah,
Isn't that crazy?
I can speak to that. Trying to get through the FCC, I can tell you, you have to speak to that. You have to speak to that. Yeah. So yeah, it's always interesting. But yet, before, what's funny is most people don't know this, that before they were Cornhuskers, they were the bug eaters. They were the Nebraska bug eaters.
I imagine there's a lot of bugs in Nebraska.
Well, here's the thing: because of the crops, what would save them often were these bats
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
would go and clean up the corn via these. They would just go and collect a mouthful of bugs, and that was
Right.
it. So they were, yeah. It's just a weird. Well, yeah, they're bats, actually birds, but it's a weird thing. Yeah, they were officially the Nebraska Bug Eaters, which it's one of my favorite shirts. Like Bug Eater football is, it's
Well,
one of my favorite
what
things.
he and a group of guys also produced was Husker cereal,
Mm.
and it was Husker cereal. It had the corn husker, it had the guy, their y'all's mascot guy sent on the front, and of course they had to pay to get that on the box and
Herbie,
whatever.
Herbie,
Irby, and then
Herbie. His name is Herbie,
Herbie. Okay.
and this is what's funny. So they have an ongoing battle between the fans and the administration because the original Herbie was a big, thick, chunky farmer looking guy,
Yeah.
and they've renovated Herbie several times, and they've trimmed him up and made him all buff, and the fans don't like it. They want chunky Herbie back. So it's amazing to watch. Just
The
they
things that
modified
people.
him. Yeah, they modified him. He had his, the first guy, he was kind of thick in his overalls, just looked like a farmer boy, and the second one looked like a former, like he was about to be a
Like Scott
bodybuilder.
Foster.
Yeah, they
The
said no, we don't want that, right?
next guy looked
They,
like Scott Foster. Yeah.
they said they don't want buff. They want chubby Herbie. So it's
Well, I
hilarious
remember.
to be here.
I
Yeah.
remember watching the Huskers back in the day when Scott was their quarterback, and I remember them saying that he could bench press more than anybody else on the team, and I was like, "What?" But he was
He,
a beef eater, man. Let me tell you.
yeah, Scott Frost. Frost was
Scott Frost. Sorry, I have a friend named
he,
Scott Foster.
no worries.
Never mind.
He
Scott
Yeah,
Frost.
right. I mean, playing quarterback at 200 and 215, 220 pounds, and then he went to the NFL and actually had to play safety and special teams. So he put on the weight, but Scott looks like he could put on the uniform now.
Yeah. No. Yeah,
Real
I
talk.
agree.
Like he looks like, okay, he if they needed a fill in, he does. Matter of fact, he's been known at practice to get under center and run the option. So
Yeah.
they they keep it going.
Absolutely. I mean, And I'm sure he can, and he probably can run with those guys too, and you're embarrassed when you're a freaking young guy, and here comes the coach running past you, and you're like, whoa, 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 whoa,
Well, he
come on,
was.
coach.
Well, I would do. You know what? I was that guy until probably 10 years ago,
Oh yeah,
and I was like, oh man, like all the wear and tear of like, yeah. It just let's just say that coaching three sports. My doctor used to say, like, if you played baseball from the time you were 10 to the time you were 50, the wear and tear would be enough to shut you down. He goes, well, you played football, baseball, and basketball every year from the age of 8 until the age of 50 55 before it wore down on me. And he goes, what did you expect would happen? Your body's just telling you you're done. You're done. He goes, nobody throws a baseball for 52 years. Put it down.
yeah.
Common sense, man.
I
Common
got to
sense.
show those pitchers how to throw the curve. Come on now, doc.
Yeah. Well, which is why I can't throw it today. I have like that torn bicep.
Oh yeah, that's a
You
tough.
know,
That's a tough pitch. That'll wear your arm
yeah,
out. Yeah,
tore it right off, man. We're done.
yeah,
I
no
can tell
doubt.
you about it. I can't show you anymore.
Hold on, here, where to put your fingers and all that
That's
kind
it,
of
man.
stuff. Yeah,
That's it.
and then twist the crap out of your arm when you take off at full velocity.
Well, we figured out later in the years that it wasn't torque on the arm. It was friction on the fingertip that would
Mm,
change. And play finger placement and friction on the seams is what folks are working from, which is why there's so
right,
many players who got mad over not being able to use substance of the baseball anymore, because that's what they were using. They were using uh, foreign objects on the fingertips across the seams, which would change the spin rate of the pitches.
right,
And
right,
the league's like, nope, you can't do it anymore. They're like, well, we got to learn how to pitch again then, because this is not how this is happening.
right. And then, I mean, what people don't understand also is you have to be able to have a good grip on the ball even when you're throwing a fastball, because if you don't, then you don't. There's no consistency as to where the ball's going to go. I
Yep.
mean, I remember, and I didn't really know that until like this age. I knew you had to have a good grip on the ball and everything, but I remember listening to just the other day when they, not the other day, but a month or so ago when they were harassing Scherzer, and the Boston coach, he's a piece of work, was claiming Scherzer was doctoring the ball. And Scherzer's like, what do you want to see? I take my pants off, whatever. There's nothing here, you know. He said, but I've got to put my hand. I got to get some kind of wet on my fingers so I don't kill somebody. Because if I go to pitch a fastball and I don't have control of it and it hits them in the head because I don't have enough control, enough grip on the ball, then it's not about me throwing strikes, it's about me keeping from killing people.
Well, it's
Because
the
that
science.
ball hits you in the head, you're done.
What's the science? I mean,
Yeah,
pitch movement is based on the wind and the seams reacting to it. And so late movement is an art form, but that movement can go opposite or contrary to what you propose for it. It's like a knuckleball. The knuckleball is all seam and friction. And the way it moves is because you are directly engaging the seams and daring the wind to react to it. So the same thing happens with a fastball. That look, the reason why pitchers are unique is that they have such finite control over the seams of a baseball, whether they know it or not. That's what makes them able. That's why they can pitch rather than shortstops who throw the ball with extra motion.
right. Well, my dad used to be in Iowa, and when we lived in Iowa, and my dad was the ROTC guy at Iowa State University, and he also played fast pitch softball there in the Midwest, which is huge.
Mm-hmm.
Men playing. I mean, and he was a pitcher. And I remember when I got older, he'd say, "Here, come out. I need to pitch. I need to do some pitches. You come out and catch for me." And he had one hell of a knuckleball, and that ball scared me so bad when he would throw it because I didn't know where the hell that thing was going. I mean, you could watch it go all over the place coming in. And I was just like, the first time he threw a knuckleball to me, I think I actually did catch it, but I just stood up and said, "I'm not doing that if you're doing that anymore, not without a mask." He's like,
That's a
"Okay, I'll
smart
just
move.
piss regular." I'm serious. I mean, that really. I saw that ball coming, and it was more one of these deals. Oh my God! I threw the mid out there, and it went into the mid. But I was like, ah, I mean, it was terrifying, terrifying. I don't know how to explain it anymore. It was
No,
just
no.
terrifying.
It's why there used to be, up and through high school, even at Woodson, where you'd have pitchers throw to you, and that was how I would know where to rank them based on my time being able to handle them, because the toughest to handle ended up being the ace of the team.
Sure, sure.
And so that was for me. And then you reach a point where you go, okay, just let me get a catcher. Let me get a catcher, and we'll
That's
do
what
it
I
that
told my
way. I'm
dad. I
like,
said, unless I'm wearing gear, you're not throwing a knuckleball anymore.
yeah, I'm
Because I
not.
can handle a fastball. I can handle a fastball. I can handle a curve without having to have my protection gear and stuff like that. Not with a batter, obviously, because that's the danger part. Is the batter comes around and nicks that ball up over your glove and cracks you in the forehead. But no, just warming up. That's not a problem. That knuckleball though, I
Gotta learn.
ain't catching that sucker.
Gotta learn.
No, yes, and when the ball hits off all parts of your body, you're like, no, no, I'm not doing this.
Gotta
You
learn.
know.
Gotta learn.
So the new book is out. I did not get to join you guys on Saturday. I really wanted to. I wasn't able to watch even. I'm gonna definitely get a chance to watch a repeat of it. But you had a great time, didn't you? I could see from the still pictures you guys were having a good time.
Yeah. It was. Again, the folks who published the book did such a great job of kind of uh, directing the thing, and it's such a unique group of guys, educators, former coaches, guys who are still coaching. But all the people in the book were just folks who had gone through life's friction, been assisted, impacted, influenced by somebody who cared enough to tell them what they needed to know, rather than what they wanted to hear, to actually push them forward. Three-time stroke survivor, who just is still, he's figured out that, for the days that you have, you need to have purpose in them. That's how you get through it. That's why you get up. Of course, we have another author whose young daughter, is on life support. She's been on life support longer than anybody in American history.
Mm,
But every day he gets up with the hope and understanding that life uh, is not guaranteed, and that it can be taken away. At the same time, that very same person who was also in volume one, telling the story of being able to get through difficult times because people loved him. The day after the book was released, he lost his brother,
mm,
and to be able to have somebody to lean on,
yeah.
and then really just telling the story that we all have a responsibility because we all have influence, and we put it aside sometimes because it's convenient.
Yeah.
Sit back and just be a spectator, and that's fine. But even as a spectator, we have influence, and it's our responsibility. The stuff that you go through, whatever you go through, is not it's not for you. You going through it is so that the next person you come across who's going through a thing, you are able to help them. Like, we're supposed to help each other through this thing, and
Sure.
not that, well, hey, I went through uh, the spinal fusion surgery and 27 blood clots and a saddle embolism, and having four specialists tell you, look, we don't know what to do. Like, we don't know how to treat this. We've never treated anybody who beat this thing. Like, this is too much. But to get through it isn't about me.
Mm,
The opportunity is for me to tell the story to people who are going through a thing, no matter what the thing is that you're going through. There is a way through, and there are people who are going to love you because of it and for it. So pay attention to the next time somebody is down, the next time somebody's alone, the next time somebody needs a hand, the next time somebody needs a pat on the back or some applause, because you were put in that very space
Yeah.
to know that, oh, I've seen this before. I'm familiar with this. This person needs me to be there for them. And it doesn't mean, spending tons of money, and it doesn't mean spending tons of time. It means be present. If somebody needs you in that moment, give yourself to them. And remember the people who gave themselves to you. So for me, and again, it was about love in the biggest, greatest, grandest form. Some people would call it, national pride, but I say this country is just a collection of community. And
I agree.
when they reach their common thread and their common thinking, that's why when America is great, when the communities decide to get together and work on the same level, at the same pace, the same energy.
Right.
For me in Arlington, there were several of these communities, but there was a place in Arlington where these communities would meet because there was a little league, and in that little league there were different teams that would participate and cross over into several sports and in several spaces. Also in Arlington back in the 60s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, this little league crossed racial lines. It became a place where you could identify with like-minded people who cared about you all the time, not just during games,
Right.
but they cared for you all the time. And you knew the families. Like if my mom was at work and couldn't be there, there was another mom from this team that would step up and get me to practice or get me home or get me a meal. Or there were dads who, if you're out in the streets and you're doing, questionable things, those dads would step up and quietly whisper or loudly bark to remind you of who you are and who you're representing. It gives you a bigger picture that this is bigger than self. This is bigger than I. And it's necessary. It's necessary. I mean, we would go into these huddles at a time where America didn't always agree that we should all get in the same huddle. We would all get in the same huddle, or we would all work from the same dugout, or we would all work from the same basketball gym, or we would work whatever it was, and we would work for a common mission. And once you learn that the mission had nothing to do with color, and that the people playing the game and coaching the game and cheering in the game, that color wasn't the issue, race wasn't the issue. Then when we went out into the community as we grew up, we carried that message with us that, well, listen, brother, listen, man, it didn't matter because we knew better. We had that. So I wrote about the Black Knights of Arlington County. I could have written about the Arlington Cubs or Arlington Optimists or Arlington Rotary. I could have written about Braddock Road. I could have written about the Vienna Raiders. I could have written about the Annandale Bulldogs. But wherever you are and whatever your community is that helped raise you, helped elevate you, and absolutely loved you, just take a moment and remember what happened, and so be that for somebody else. Like these travel teams, it's not about the exposure. No, it's about the memory
community,
and the connection, right? And being able to get together and have a common goal that's bigger than yourself.
Yeah.
High school sports is not about the wins and losses. The wins and losses are a product of how connected the people are. So I wanted to just take time in the book, use this book, this particular volume of the book, to just remind people, communities matter. Within those communities are their families, and within those families there are good people. And the way the world works is great people make great families, make great communities. Great communities make great families and make great people. If we remember those things, they follow one another. It's pretty cool.
It's very cool, man. I mean, that's I know I grew up in the same kind of community. I know that I want to, as a coach, I want to foster that same community as well. I want to have my kids, whoever they are, and I'm really think I'm pretty close to getting back into coaching, and but I want to tell them, I want to foster a whole thought process of, this is a family and we're part of a community. And if we just do that, come together and become one, we're gonna be successful. And that was always my pitch to my team. I always used to say, listen, you guys, so many of you guys know more about soccer than I do. Or know different things about soccer, not so much more about it. I don't think anybody knows more about it than I do. Just kidding. No, but they know so many different skills, and they know so many different routines and setups and preparation, and because every coach they've ever been through, they've had a different kind of approach. I said, but see, here's where you have to put all that aside, not the skills, but we are going to have to come together with one brain and move forward. Because if we're all on the same page, then we're going to be successful. We can't be beat if we all play with the same thought and the same idea and the same game plan, and we execute. And all this stuff, Coach. I mean, and that's what you try. You try to get those kids all thinking alike. And I want you guys to think, and it's going to be me, my brain. We're all going to be Bailey's brain. And like I said, it's not as powerful as some of y'all's, but if we all say here, then we're all going to be moving in tandem, and we're going to be able to know what we're doing. So,
well, Lee, you're the mayor of your team.
That's exactly right.
In each community, there's a plumber, there's a fireman, there's a chef, there's a cook, there's a teacher, there's a minister, like each thing that applies on each team. Yes. Those things exist. They don't have to be one and the same. As a matter of fact, great teams, the best teams, aren't the same. They come from different places and have different skill sets. That's why they rely on each other. That's why they need each other. Yeah. And it's when communities get that right, that no, we don't have to all look alike, be built alike. We don't need to come from the same work ethic. Kickers don't work at the same space as quarterbacks, but it can exist. Catchers and pitchers are different type of human beings, but they get to the same brain based on what is the mission, what is the task.
That's right.
Baseball has big guys, tall guys, little guys, short guys, but that's a community. That's also a family, right? That even within that. And so there's some folks who they did studies where they identified what corporations were looking for in athletes, right? And the people that they hire. And a lot of what they were looking for was, have you played team sports? Because that will tell me your ability to adapt, engage, and stay connected to a mission that's greater, bigger than yourself. Right. And it's absolutely true that you look at a community, the diversity of the community will tell you its ability to expand. Right. Because it requires, this doesn't work. Working 40 hours a week, 5 days a week, 8 hours a day doesn't work for everybody. Right. That's why you have firemen and first responders that work different those 3-day work shifts.
3 on, 2 off.
Right. Yeah. That's right. So we figured out that one size doesn't fit, one mission does. Like we have to figure out through that and learn that. And this book is full of those stories. I mean, it's 18 stories. People who just not only like I say it all the time. I'm a product of the community I was raised in. People say you're a product of your environment. Well, I can't be successful if I'm not loved. If I wasn't loved, there's no way I'm here today. There literally is no way that you're a community, a collection of the communities that loved you.
That's right.
And that's like when you know that you have that much power as a neighborhood, right? That you know that the power of when you walk out your front door, that the person next to you can look over, if they look over at you and smile, man, you have a neighborhood. Like you don't just have a house, you have a neighborhood. And if those smiles are continually passed down from house to house, you not only have a neighborhood, but you have a community. And that's what we're striving for, man. That's all we're trying to strive for is stay connected, get connected, stay connected, and then love. Simplicity.
Yeah, I was just, it's really funny because just last night we were talking about, we were talking with a friend and late at night, and God, too late. And I talked about my honeymoon, and my honeymoon was in the Bahamas, and it was on New Year's Eve. We landed on New Year's Eve, and I remember the driver said, "We got to hurry because it's John Canoe, and John Canoe starts at midnight. Everybody's in church right now. As soon as they let out, we ain't getting nowhere because the streets will be filled. It's festival, and every neighborhood competes against each neighborhood, but they're a whole family. That whole neighborhood gets together. They've been working on it. They work on it for 6 months out of the year because they do it twice. So every 6 months they have this John Canoe in the Bahamas and have a ball, and it's a big party, huge party, and it has nothing to do with the visitors and the people. It's to do with their families, their neighborhoods, and luckily there's CCTV, and we were able to watch when we got home, when we got to the hotel, and then the next morning when we woke up, I turned it on, it was still on. They were still going, and but like you were saying, there's the neighborhood. The neighborhood has. And that's what it was, is all these neighborhoods competing in a joyful way, of course, against these others, these huge headdresses, and they're dancing and they're special, whatever it was. It was just awe-inspiring to see each neighborhood rallying all together. And throughout the year, because you do that, all of you do it together, everybody in the neighborhood, that everybody knows each other. And they good morning. Hey, how you doing, John? How you doing, Dave? How you doing, Derek? Whatever. And it was awe inspiring, and it made me think about that last night. Well, that's not what we were talking about, but I thought about that last night, and then you just kind of brought it back to me. These neighborhoods in Arlington, and that's really how it is in Falls Church. Same thing, Kingsley Commons. That was where. And sometimes stuff not good comes out of the neighborhood like that. But in Colmore, there's all kinds of places that are known as their neighborhood, and they have their certain eccentricities, and they have good and bad, and just it's a whole system. It's a whole system like the world is with countries, where you go into a city and each neighborhood is like a different country, and New York is a prime example. You have the Haitians live in this part of the part of the city, the Asians in this part of the city, and everyone's kind of sequestered, but it's also a big melting pot. And that's also in this Washington metropolitan area is the same exact thing, just maybe a little bit more spread out. But anyway. Thank you for being on today, my friend. I appreciate you. And if they want to get a book, they can go to Love Prince, right? Or loveprince.com.
Loveprince.us.
Loveprince.us. Yeah. Fantastic, my friend. All right. I love you, Derek. We'll see you on next Tuesday, if not before. Take care. Good luck with the station. Sorry about all your issues with the stupid Russians. And yeah, I hope everything works out well.
We'll be
Gets you
fine.
back on. I know
We're-
you will. I know you will, brother. I know you will. All right, man. Take
Y'all
care,
be good.
friend.
Yeah, man.
Take care.